Hi, my name's Dr. Manoj Krishna. I used to be a spine surgeon. One day I was driving home from a day in surgery and heard that a children's hospital had been bombed in a war zone. That moved me deeply, and I decided to leave my medical career and try and do something about it. I wrote this book about understanding ourselves, which helps us to understand others better, because deep down we are the same human being. This understanding leads to wisdom, which can be life-changing. Human Wisdom is an online program to share this understanding with children and adults everywhere. In this presentation, I'm going to explore some of the ways in which wisdom can bring us all peace. I am the same human being that you are, and I begin with this question. Our time on earth is limited. Why can't we live in peace with ourselves, each other, and the earth? I set out on a journey to find out. Please join me. Perhaps by understanding why we don't live in peace, we could do something about it. Let us begin with ourselves. Our mind is deeply restless. We are never satisfied. We take what we have for granted and focus on getting the things we do not have. Why do we do that? We chase after money, fame, possessions, and relationships, all of which bring us pleasure, but this pleasure is always short-lived, and then we want something new. In the process, we often get frustrated because we do not get what we want. Peace eludes us. How can we respond to this with intelligence? Hidden from our awareness, we constantly compare who we are and what we have with others. This is an automatic function of thinking and essential in some ways, but also causes major problems, especially in the age of social media. Young people tell me it can make them envious, feel inadequate, hate others who have more than them, hate their own bodies, push them to conform and have low self-esteem. Understanding this hidden process at work in our thinking can bring peace and allow us to respond with intelligence. We often struggle to accept ourselves as we are, and that causes inner turmoil. We want to be more loved, popular, famous, and want to fit in because we are afraid of being alone and isolated. The problem perhaps lies not in who we are, but the many unconscious ideas that we carry around of who we want to be, and these come from our many conditioning influences, including social media. We also judge people who are different as bad or wrong. Unconsciously, we want others to think and behave like we do, and if they don't, we are critical of them, and that causes conflict. Why do we do that? When I see both these unconscious patterns of thinking clearly, something shifts in me. As I accept myself for who I am, I find my friends do the same. In accepting others as they are, so much of my conflict comes to an end, and I am at peace. So much of our lack of peace is because of conflict in our relationships. What is the root cause of that? There are many, but we have so many expectations of others, and when these are not met, we get hurt, angry, and withdraw. Where do our expectations come from, and why do we think others are responsible for meeting them? We also get hurt and blame others when our many hidden emotional needs are not met. To be loved, listened to, be recognized, and so on. Why do I want to feel important, for example? If this need is not met, I can get frustrated and blame others for my pain. Where do my needs come from, and why do I expect others to meet them? If we can figure out answers to these questions, we could live with a greater sense of peace. Where do our opinions come from, and why are we so attached to them? We have so many arguments with people who have different opinions to our own. We are sure we are right and try and convince the other person, and it ends in conflict. We want to be with people who think like us, so groups form, one group convincing the other group, and sometimes this can end in violence. Our opinions seep into us from our environment, from the papers we read, our social media, and our family, and we're not always aware of it. Why are we so attached to opinions that are not originally ours anyway? Do we always need to have an opinion? And even if we do, Do we always need to express it or to convince others of it? The answers to these questions could end so much conflict and bring peace. Our lack of peace also comes from anxiety and fear. Many of our fears operate in the background and influence our behavior. We are afraid of what others think of us, so we try to conform. Fear of being attacked can make us aggressive towards other people or other countries. Our fear of losing things we value banishes our sense of peace. I sometimes wonder what fear is, where it comes from, and how our lives would change if we could respond intelligently to fear. I once heard a 10-year-old girl say that fear is just your imagination playing up. Why are we afraid of people who are different to us? Our fear can make us suspicious, aggressive, and cruel. We can't seem to help our prejudices. Where do they come from? Our mind automatically compares what it sees with what it knows, and when it comes across anyone very different, that creates a disturbance in our thinking and results in anxiety. We are not aware of this process which occurs in the background and do not see that the other person is the same human being that we are. This understanding allows us to look beyond our superficial differences and connect with others as human beings. This can bring peace. What makes us hate people we have never met? In the last century, we human beings killed 200 million of our own. No other species on our planet does that. To understand why, we need to explore the nature of identity. So many of the conflicts in the world are between people with different identities, religious, national, or the color of our skin. We pick up our religious and national identities from the culture we grow up in and never question them. Our identities also meet many of our emotional needs: to feel secure, to belong, to not be lonely, to fit into a group that will look after us, and so on. We become attached to anything that meets these needs. If someone criticizes our religion, for example, we feel as if we're being personally attacked and want to retaliate. So what are we, you and I, as ordinary human beings to do? What is the intelligent response? Perhaps it is not the identity itself that causes a problem, but our emotional attachment to it, which is an unconscious process. If we could use our intelligence to understand the unconscious power of identity and let go of our attachment to it, we would never kill another human being who was different to us. Imagine how that could shake the world. We may carry many painful memories of bad things that have happened either to us personally or to the group of people we identify with. These make us angry and want to hurt others back, and as a result of this, we have no peace. What can we do to move on? I realize that the first step begins with me. If I want the cycle of violence to end, I need to step out of that cycle. How can I forgive people, though, and find the compassion to do that? For me, compassion comes from realizing that deep down, we're all the same human being. We look different and have different contents in our memories, but hidden from our awareness, our minds function in similar ways, just like our hearts do. We both want to live in peace. The nature of fear, pleasure, and sorrow is the same in all of us. I am not aware that my conditioning influences and my self-interest determine my thoughts and actions. I'm certain I'm right all the time, and so others must be wrong. All human beings are the same. This understanding that deep down I am the same as other human beings awakens compassion and allows me to forgive others. This forgiveness heals my own inner pain, and I can move on and find peace. My questions have made me realize that if I want to live in peace, I need to begin by understanding myself and how my mind works. I could then uncover the many internal roadblocks on the path to peace and remove them using my intelligence. But how do I begin? I have never been taught how to look at and understand myself throughout my education. I'm a little anxious too, not knowing what I'm going to discover. If we want peace in the world, we need to begin with the individual, especially with children. I have found in my many conversations with them that they have an amazing wisdom that is just waiting to be awakened, and we can do that through education. After all, education is all about learning, and alongside teaching them maths and science, we could also teach them how to understand themselves. We're already working in schools with teachers and children. To see the videos of my conversations with them, please email me. The Human Wisdom program aims to empower people to understand themselves deeply. This understanding leads to wisdom which can transform individual lives and make the world a better, more peaceful place. Since so many of our human problems, including the lack of peace in ourselves and in the world, first begin in our thinking, the solution to these problems also needs to begin there, by understanding ourselves and how our minds work. We are creating 4 wisdom programs for children, teenagers, parents, and adults. These are not based on any ideology but centered around learning about ourselves. What can we do, you and I, to make the world a better place for our children? And how can we empower them to deal intelligently with the many challenges that lie ahead? They, after all, are the future of humanity, and we need them to be a different kind of human being who is not just concerned with their own welfare, but also has a feeling of compassion for others and the earth. Perhaps wisdom is part of the answer to both of these questions. It is simple and lies dormant in us all. It just needs to be awakened, and once it is, can transform all our lives and the world we live in. If this resonates with you, please join us and get in touch. My name is Dr. Manoj Krishna. Thank you for listening.